Muted, camera, recording.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors workshop to order. It's 2:02, and let the record show the board members are present except Flavia. I'm expecting her shortly. We're going to have a presentation by the Park and Recreation Committee first, and then we'll go questions and answers and stuff back and forth. Okay.
So just, point of order, if before you speak, you can just identify yourself. And then for purposes of quorum, just go through on your side and let us know who's.
Yeah, just might introduce everybody on the deal, just for the record.
We'll do a roll call. My name is Paul Leargren. I am the chairperson of the Parks and Rec Committee here with
Ken Frieda.
Bill Spargrove.
I'll let you know, those microphones are really good, so if you kind of got them in between all of you, as long as you face it, you'll be fine. Camera's on.
Joe Schofield.
Thank you.
And we're here to partake in this workshop today. What we've done and what is in front of you is kind of an outline along with a little bit of a speech I prepared that I'll be going through. It's not going to take too long. But we will revisit after I speak on those three main bullet points that we have listed at the top. So I want to start with an opening. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you to each board member for your time, your service, and your continued commitment to making this community truly special. What we're here to discuss today isn't just about budget or projects. It's about a shared vision. It's about what we want this community to look like, feel like, and offer to the residents who call it home. PRAC is excited to be at this table with you, and we believe that when this board and PRAC work together in alignment, there is nothing we can't accomplish for the people that we serve. So the first section, we're talking about the budget process and where we see ourselves fitting into the overall community plan. So let's start with the foundation, which is the budget process. One of the things PRAC would like to see moving forward is a clearer, more collaborative framework for allocating capital improvement dollars each year. Here's what we're proposing. A working annual budget allocation dedicated to capital improvements paired with a rolling 5-year plan that gives everyone, the board, PRAC, and the community a clear roadmap of where we're headed. This matters because when we plan together in advance, we reduce any surprises, stretch every dollar further, and create accountability to the community or that the community could see and trust. We're also asking that PRAC be formally included in the project initiation and planning processes and phases, particularly in the design and the development phase of improvement plans. We want to be at the table early, not just at the finish line. PRAC brings community perspective, resident feedback, and creative energy to every project, and we believe that involvement from the start produces better outcomes for everyone. So that's a little bit on the budget. In section 2, we're talking about our 5-year plan. We've kind of prioritized what we feel would be a good vision, and if we could kind of talk about this a little later on and see if it falls in alignment. So now with the framework in mind, PRAC has developed and prioritized a list of capital improvement projects we'd like to see moving forward together over the next several years. These aren't just wish list items. They're projects our residents are asking for, projects that build community and add long-term value to our parks and common areas. So for 2026, 2027, and trust me, I'm well aware that the budget is already, of course, sealed for 26 and coming up on 27, right? But these are kind of more important items that we feel need to be addressed yesterday. We're recommending we focus on 3 major things for 26 and 27. Perimeter fencing at Commons Park, which addresses safety and improves the overall look and feel of the space. The look and feel isn't as important. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this later on, but the perimeter fencing, at least in the front of Commons Park, against the Gateway Boulevard barrier, we feel is very important immediately. A parking lot expansion, because we know accessibility is a constant challenge at our events on a daily basis, right? and relocating the dog park to the Commons Park, which creates a more vibrant, multi-use destination for dog owners and non-dog owners alike. So the reason why we put those two things together specifically, the dog park, we understand, needs to move over to the Commons to expand the parking scenario over there, right? So those three things we feel are the most urgent to be addressed, and that's why we listed those for what we would like to see now, basically. And then the 5-year plan looking ahead, 2028, we'd love to see community pavilion at the Commons Park. And we had presented this early 2025. We'd like to talk about this a little more and revisit it. This is a game changer. A covered multi-use pavilion opens the doors for events, gatherings, and programming that simply aren't possible right now. It becomes the heart of the park. In 2029, an agility course at the dog park. And this features, or it's a feature that becomes, or has become enormously popular in communities across Florida and gives residents another reason to get outside and stay active. By 2030, we'd like to see a disc golf course at Linear Park. This is a low-cost, high-engagement amenity that attracts a wide demographic and activates a space that is currently pretty much underutilized. Looking ahead in 2031, we conceptualize the idea, it's probably the most ambitious project that we're thinking about, but a gymnasium or a community fitness center. This is the kind of facility that transforms a community. It serves seniors, families, young adults, and everyone in between. It's the kind of investment that residents talk about for years, and frankly, the kind of investment that makes people proud to live here. We recognize that a 5-year plan only works if we protect it. If we treat it as a living document that this board and PRAC revisits and refines together each year. And we're going to actually propose that not only do we meet every year, but probably more often than that to kind of really focus in on these improvements. We're committed to this partnership. So section 3, we're going to talk about programs and community initiatives here. So beyond the physical improvements, PRAC wants to bring life and energy to these spaces through programming or through programs and community initiatives. And we have 2 ideas to start with that we're especially excited about to share. And the first would be food truck events at the Commons Park. So imagine a monthly or bi-monthly evening where families gather, local vendors set up, kids play, and neighbors meet neighbors. Food truck events are low cost to produce, enormously popular, and they create exactly the kind of community culture we want to foster. PRAC is ready to organize and coordinate these. We just need the green light. And second, we were discussing a banner program. And this one is particularly exciting because it has the potential to generate revenue for the community rather than spend it. So here's the vision here. PRAC takes the lead on designing a banner program for our parks and common areas. Think sponsor banners along the fencing that we would put up on Gateway Boulevard, at the pavilion once that's built, at park entrances, etc. PRAC would recruit and sell sponsorships to local businesses that want visibility within our community. And in parallel, PRAC would actively research and pursue grant options that align with our capital improvement goals. So this is PRAC doing what PRAC does best. We're creative, we're being entrepreneurial here, and we're finding ways to bring more resources to the table for the benefit of all of our residents. So in closing, I want to come back to where it started. This is about collaboration. This is about a board and a committee that believes in the same thing. Community of people, or a community people are proud of, families want to be a part of, and that only gets better with time. PRAC isn't here to create more work for the board. We're here to be a resource, a partner, and champion for smart, thoughtful investment that the places where our residents live, at the places where our residents live their lives. We're ready to roll up our sleeves and excited about what we can build together. Thank you. So, going back to the top, again, the main topics here, what we're really looking to focus on and kind of get clarity on is the budget process, the 5-year plan that we'd like to see, and the programs that we could kind of kick off now.
So, running with the idea that the board mentioned at the last meeting was giving them fund, but a budget to work with. Unlike with PPAC and all of its subcommittees, they generate the projects, they generate the ideas, they, in essence, bill themselves for it. PRAC doesn't necessarily have that leniency that PPAC and its subcommittees do. So I think the number may be up for discussion. I think we threw a $200,000 number because that would get at least the ball rolling with any type of engineering or permitting or design in that nature. But then it would give them the opportunity to own a project or projects and run with it. So
I'd like to see something different. I totally agree on the capital improvement plan, but I'd like to call it a capital reserve and improvement program. We've got two issues that I see, and they're getting worse as we go on because we're investing more, which means we're going to need to have more money in reserve to replace equipment that's going to come apart. Instead of a 5-year plan, I'd like to see a 10-year plan. And then on the new structures or new assets that we'd be building, just identify those, put them in a year period, and just like anything else, just schedule it out and have an idea of what it's going to cost. But along with those, we're also going to need to know what impact those have on operation and maintenance on each one of them. Some have minimals, other ones have a lot. Our biggest problem is right now we've got one issue that is yet to be resolved, and that's what we're going to do with this soccer complex. I mean, that's the tail wagging the dog. Until we figure out what we're doing there, you're talking about $2.5 million alone in capital investments that could be required there, from grass to street lights to drainage. So I don't even know that we have a set plan as to whether we want to go with grass or we want to go artificial. All that stuff needs to be looked at, but first of all, we got to be able to pay for it. So again, I like the idea of the capital plan, but I like it to be 10-year, and I'd like it to include a reserve component of all this stuff that we're buying right now, whether it be at the Common Park or it's over here at the soccer field. Let's see what's the service of life of that equipment. What's the return it's going to come back and bite us? Anything from grass to street lights to fencing to security, all of those items that make that park put it together. I think it's a big number. That's what I'm afraid of. But we need to know what it is going in to know what impact it's going to have on costs. Doug?
Yeah, just a couple things. And one, I just have to compliment all of you for your efforts. Not only serving on a committee is time consuming, but one like parks, there's so many different avenues and demographics and thought considerations and budget. It's a lot, and having 4 boys and being pretty connected to a lot of parks and recs, I've kind of been there. A couple things. One, I do want to just get your input on how you determined your priorities and the items. And then 2, one of the things that I think this board has shifted to over the years is really thinking about the demographics of our amenities and making sure that when we are building or promoting programs or whatever, that we do think about the demographics as a whole. We have a very diverse demographics here, from newborns to retirees and everywhere in between. So which even makes it more complicating when you're trying to build amenities and programs for that dynamic. So thinking about the demographics, thinking about the value that an amenity or a program brings versus the need, and how many people will that particular touch, and at what cost. So there's a lot of analysis into it. So I'd love to just kind of get your thoughts on that a little bit. One of the other things, the pavilion's such a great idea. I think we've had some examples before. I think early on, Ed, in the previous years and years ago, it went from a pavilion to almost an amphitheater, which was really grand. So it can be very, very expensive. But when we think about this common park, one of the things that we don't have in Gateway is we don't have a central meeting area. We don't have a culture where events and getting together is something that happens on a regular basis. It happens on the community level. I mean, Pelican's a great example. Gateway Greens is a great example. There's other communities that have a community culture where you're getting together, you have events, and it just like every month you're like, okay, what's the event for this month? Like it's a behavior. We're starting to build that. But a good way to foster that is to have a central meeting area where you can have more regular, and it doesn't have to be expensive, but just get people used to coming out. So I've been a big fan of the pavilion. We just got to be able to do it that's cost effective and something that's multi-use, multi-purpose. The other thing is, I know you're talking about sponsors and generating that. There's something we've talked about for a long time, and I don't even know how many board members even remember it, but we've had conversations before around really creating an initiative in Gateway. Whether it's keeping Gateway green or Gateway is great or whatever that is, an initiative that the community can get behind, the residents can get behind. And I think if we can tie in some type of sponsorship level there, so you're donating or you're contributing to this initiative, and under the umbrella is the benefit that comes as a result. Sponsorship and banners, I have no problem with it, but I know that the leagues, if they do that and they go out for local business, and I don't mind competing with them, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind competing with us, and we have to drive revenue wherever we can. But I would just charge you to get creative on that, and see if we can create something that has multi-purpose, whether it's community volunteering, maybe there's some cleanup, maybe there's some gardening, or in addition to business sponsorships, resident sponsorships, and creating more of a larger initiative. So those are just a couple things that I had. I think budgeting will be a challenge for us. I mean, we've already done a lot, we spent a lot, and I still think there's still more to go. But I think it's going to be really important for you as a committee, for your voices to be heard, and for the items that you bring to the table that we action them, or else what's the committee for? Now, you can just have a governance committee that's just doing checks and balances for the board, but I don't think you guys want to be that. I think you want to be an active participant, and be responsible for some of the change and the impact that the parks have to the community. So that's all that I have.
I think the timing of the presentation in light of what's going on up at the Commons area is wonderful. I certainly want to support the empowerment, and with that, of course, comes budgets. I love the fact that it's going to be driven there. We'll make sure that we're stewards of our money. But if you have money and if you have decision-making, subject to approval, of course, but if you have that and you feel that you have the ownership, you can do nothing but succeed. The time horizon, 5 years, 10 years, 7, that's not as important to me. Certainly we have to fund it that we can replace it. And that's something that's been overlooked too long within all of Gateway. So I'm excited about it. I like what I've seen, and encouraged and really supportive of your participation.
Can I just pick up on that?
Sure.
The Commons, when it opens, is first. I'm brand new to this committee. I didn't have anything to do with the development of that, but I think it's going to tell us a lot about how the community. I think there's been some good work. I'm not sure exactly who did it, but finding what people need in that Commons Park. So you've got, like, Doug, you outlined this very well, that a lot of different ages in there. I've been going to the swimming pool for years, and there used to be a playground right there. And it was gone shortly after because, like what you said, it wasn't properly maintained. So there was really just the swimming pool. That's it. And I think we've got a great opportunity to see how all that's utilized. Pickleball age, that's great. My community in Hampton they're really excited about that idea because they have 3, and it's on a basketball court. So they're pretty excited about the prospects of that. There's a lot of parts in there. There's the dog walking trails. There's all kinds of things. And it'll give us a better idea how that's utilized and issues that maybe come up, security or otherwise. That's why we're pushing the fencing, because Gateway, when I moved here, Gateway didn't even go through. It was a dead end, and it quickly opened up, and now it's a major thoroughfare. So kids wandering off of that park into that street could be extremely dangerous. So we're concerned about that. And there may be other things that we don't even know about.
It's the first time we've tried to embrace the area that we have and make it useful to the community.
And it's unfortunate it took so long to do it,
It is.
because the builder, original builder, I think had a plan for that area, but never did anything except the swimming pool. So we're kind of rectifying an issue that happened we're really excited about the commons area and what could be utilized in that building, from small groups meeting to, who knows, Tai Chi, whatever. There could be a lot of different.
One of the biggest things that I would, from a staffing perspective, that we've discussed, and I think you all have done the same, is how do we get you out of your neighborhood? How do we get you out of your community? Because each community has different perks, benefits, amenities. How can we draw you to the commons? And I think ultimately our goal too, Doug, is to have that be the common place, the common ground, right, that everybody goes to. I think from our perspective, I know we're going to have to, from a staffing point of view, we're going to have to, I know we've talked about hours of operation. I will tell you, since our last board meeting, I have had communications with, discussions with potentially naming rights vendors. That is, to your point, Ed, one of the things that Laura's been crunching numbers on is what P&I would be, and then what O&M cost would be, and what would that overall cost, and then let's take that concept, not just at the soccer complex, let's take it to the fun park, let's take it to the pickleball courts, because we know in 5 years, how often do you have to redo pickleball courts? So those are costs that we're contemplating. So if we can get naming rights and sponsorships, banners are a great, add-on, but that's a lot of banners to make 200,000, a year, if not more. So, and then the other
Or
part,
one really, really big one.
huge one, yeah. Well, and then the other part of that is our banners, our identity. Do we want to look out at the soccer complex and only see banners out there? So these are the things that I have been contemplating. I know Carrie and Paul, we've talked about it time and time again. But I think truthfully, naming rights, even if it's one court, one field, all of your entire list, we could easily ask for naming rights on the cost of these things.
Just one thing to your point, naming rights on things. These are just examples, right? We're giving 2 examples of things that we could do kind of right now to start this whole thing. But I too have brought up, and PRAC has discussed, the idea of once a pavilion was to come to fruition, having people sponsor bricks, having people, we don't have a scoreboard at Sherman. Sponsor scoreboard, kind of things like that we could definitely expand into. But to Doug's point about prioritization and how we came up with this list, to be honest with you, I have always been a big proponent of the center and centralizing everything over at Commons, and the pavilion being kind of number 1, right? If you look at Babcock Ranch, they have the Founders Square, and everything happens there. To have that base, I think, is going to promote this community, and that's what's going to bring the people together, right? Because even as we build out commons, we have the pool, and then we have pickleball all the way over there, and and it's still kind of spread, right? We're doing the movies over at the soccer field, so everything's just kind of spread. If people have one place to go, they're going to start running into each other. They're going to start communicating. We're going to bring the neighborhoods together. That's when our amenities as a community kind of overtake any individual group's amenities, right? So we kind of had that first. The reason why we put, urgently, if you go back to 26, 27, is strictly because of what's already happening, right? Because the commons is being built out, we feel like the security, like Bill said, on Gateway is we have to kind of find, like in our opinion, we have to find the money to get some type of safety nest up there now. We have to put some type of fencing there.
And you're coming from a safety more so than an access control.
Absolutely.
Well, yes.
Or maybe a combination of both, but
the concept is we come up with a fence at least along Gateway Boulevard to handle the safety rather, and then we expand later on with security. If we have to go around, we could go around, whatever it may be that we feel we need security for. But primarily right now, it's a safety concern.
There's also a question of protecting the asset. I mean, we
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we had
Yeah.
a couple of months things where some young people on their e-bikes got access to the property and did damage to the
Yeah,
golf
yeah.
course. And I think after spending the kind of money we're talking about to improve,
Yeah, I completely understand. And I think,
we need some protection.
you know, I ran a nonprofit for about 5 years. And with that, we had four board of directors, or 4 officers. We had 10 to 15, I'd say, consistent, regular member volunteers active. And then we had a network of about 20 or 50. So if we ever needed people, we could tap into that. I think that's where I kind of see this committee going the next step, is going from you 5 to branching out to people that you tap into in your community or people that you know, your friends, family, and then having a network that even grows even further. Because I think the 3 areas that you, as a committee, in my opinion, could add the most value, which is difficult for the board and difficult for staff, is trying to drive a culture. And the culture from a Parks and Rec is really community, it's being active, outgoing, those types of things. So when I say culture, I'm not talking about a gateway culture necessarily, but part of our gateway culture should be, community. We're an outgoing, if you walk or drive down Gateway Boulevard, people are always walking, they're active, doing different things. And the other is programs. That's an area that I think we have struggled in the past to consolidate programs or to create new programs. So I'm not saying that you need to create programs, but you're the voice on the ground and the ear to the ground that can say, hey, here's what we're missing. I've talked to the people at Pelican. They got tons of programs. How do we incorporate some of those from a senior's perspective, overlay it into Gateway, and even in the other communities as well? And then the last one is capital improvement. I think that's very important, but capital improvement does cost money, and I wish we had more of it, but we don't. So in my opinion, it's driving culture, driving programs or identifying programs, and then capital improvement. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this board that says, hey, if you get to a point where you're raising revenue within your committee, then you can earmark that money as part of your annual budget. I mean, it's possible. We might say, no, whatever you raise goes back to the house, but I wouldn't be opposed to that. So, again, when I was running a nonprofit, I was trying to work with Gateway to do some things, and they just didn't have the budget. So we raised money. We put benches up at the park. We replaced playground equipment. We did stuff like that. So it's like, look, if we need it, if the funding's not there, then let's go out and find it. So those are just, a couple things.
Cool, Carol.
I think this group here can focus on, you are focusing on so many things, and I'm coming to these meetings for years now. Geez, my opinion has always been that the ideas have started on this group. I felt like we were an afterthought. We want to be more involved, and you're right, we are the boots on the ground. We have a few, I think 10 years is more than we can chew off at this point. I think we're not prepared to move that far ahead, but 5 years is something that we can start working with, get our boots wet, and start moving forward. The ideas are one thing. Doing the detailed work that you require is going to take a lot of time, and trying to develop a 10-year plan versus just working on what we just proposed is going to be a lot of time for us right now. And we have limited resources. But I think we got a lot for you folks. Understand you have final decision-making power. Or skin in the game and provide better information. We think everybody will benefit. And talking about this fence, we talked about the security of the whole area. Rational to spend that kind of money. But if we put a section of fence up where it's most visible, it's something people see. And most people will say, geez, they've got this thing protected. There's always going to be somebody climbing over a fence, even if you have the whole. We can really do a job for you folks. And something else that I don't know that anyone's really thought of is Pelican Preserve pretty much says you have your stuff here and we have all of our stuff. But if you look at the demographics, Pelican Preserve does things during the daytime and not on weekends necessarily. And have resources here that their residents can use when they're least used here. It's going to be an enticement, like pickleball or even bocce ball or some other of those activities. They're filled up over there, which they frequently are in prime times. They aren't going to be filled up over here in prime times because of your kids. I think you can use that as a development for inclusion and happier people. And the happier people, the less they care about taxes, maybe.
If I could add on, Joe mentioned something.
Unless they care about taxes.
Yeah, maybe. Joe mentioned something at one of our meetings about the fact that at Pelican, they have like barbershop quartets and different groups that don't have a place to perform. We were talking about the pavilion, and that would be just a great way to draw people in if they could have a performing place. And then they could be exposed to the entire community that way. So those kinds of opportunities could happen if the facility was there.
Carol, thoughts?
I've always believed that when you take on a mission, you've got to start with what you've got right now. And it seems to me that one of the things that we have right now is a pool, but I don't think it's being used like it could be used. I don't see why you couldn't offer some more things at the pool. And I'd like those ideas to come from you guys. I mean, I look outside our area and at 10 o'clock almost every day, you see ladies in the pools doing their aerobics and all that sort of stuff. That's something that could be done over at this pool too, but I've never heard anybody bring up that idea.
It was.
We have, yeah, that's going on.
Yes,
Yeah, it still is going.
we have an aerobics on Monday, Thursday. Well, I think you should look at more things to involve as many people as possible with the assets that you've got right now.
That's a good point.
Well, I think
And,
the problem with Pelican is
and-
communication.
That's true. But we do have a newsletter. We've got a CDD newsletter. And you can start putting those things in the newsletter and getting them out there to people. But then I think, yes, I think it would be absolutely imperative that you guys help us formulate at least the next 5 years of looking ahead in the budget and what to do about the Commons Park. If any of you guys have been here for the past, several months, you know that we've been talking a lot about the soccer fields across the way. And basically what I believe the board is trying to say is that we're trying to make that asset, we're trying to make the most of that asset.
Revenue neutral.
So that it does not affect the taxes.
And also, Carol, too, we can't have one asset, and this pains me to say this, we can't have one asset that drains the capability and opportunity for expansion for other assets. And I think that's where it's getting to is can't afford to do anything else because we've got one thing that's costing us more than, and that's not fair to the residents, to be quite honest.
I would like the committee to look at different options that you're proposing in that same way. Let's try and make them with the least amount of burden possible on the taxes, but still provide them.
So Paul, what do you think you want to take away from the committee, from this joint meeting today? Direction?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, well, let me respond to Carol first. I agree with you, right? The pool is not being utilized, right? Not to where it should be. Now, I have always felt that there's a few reasons for that, right? It may be people don't know about it, right? Like they literally just don't know it's there. They they don't live in that community, so they don't see it. You know, there's one thing that happens at the pool, which is swimming. That's it, right? So if I don't swim, I'm not going to go to the pool. So it kind of goes back and leads back to the idea of, yes, I agree. We could do more to promote programs at the pool now because it's an asset that we have that we could maximize, that we could even generate a little bit with programs. We could generate some income on it, right? But I think that community, building that community space where everything is going on there, other than soccer, right? Sherman's over there, it's a whole other entity. But like when you're coming to Gateway, you have that gathering space, which happens to have a pool. That's going to expose a lot, because communication is I feel like the biggest issue. You know, Gateway sends out communication newsletters, that's great, no one reads them, we know this, right? But when an activity comes to town and something's going on, a food truck night or whatever it is, it's like, oh, there's a pool up here, I didn't even know that. All of a sudden, you're going to start generating buzz. Neighbors are going to take that back to their communities, and we're going to start community building, which is what Doug said before. You know, it's about building the boots on the ground, bringing the people together. Then those activities are going to start to roll. Not that we can't do it now, and I feel that we should, and we could improve on that for sure. What I feel, to your question, what I feel a takeaway is, I've always felt, I've been on Parks and Rec now for 2 years. I've always felt that we haven't communicated our fault, your fault very well with the Board of Supervisors. So I really feel that this is very valuable to kind of at least get a pulse of where you're at with what your expectations are of us, and really, because we're ready. We can absolutely do whatever. We're excited to make this place wonderful, right? We just need a little bit of guidance as far as what we have permission to do, and we'll do it. So I think touch bases, maybe semi-annually, maybe once even a quarter. I don't know what the answer is there, but where we have the opportunity to come in front of you and just say, this is where we're at, right? Like once we have this budget established or whatever you permit us to take, this is how we're allocating this stuff. And it's not just a report that I send to you, but we're sitting here and we're saying, this is what we've allocated. What do you think about this? This is what we're targeting now for next year because we have that coming up. That will improve things tremendously from our perspective.
Well, here's my problem. Not about or anything, but that list of things you've got here, a list of possibilities, save the disc golf course.
Right.
We have done at least 3 surveys, and the rest of those went down in flames, every one of them. Our problem is that the people have told us in survey after survey, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. I mean, we can't get hardly over 15% as the highest of any one item.
Yeah.
And where it comes to, Bill, to answer your question, it's called history. You'd have been here 25 years ago, you'd know why we're having the issues we're having.
Right.
We had a board that tried to finagle a $7 million tennis complex through this deal, and it caused chaos in the community. Nobody trusted anybody, and especially this board. So we got to watch what we're doing, because what they're going to do is if they start seeing stuff like some of these things, specifically that pavilion's not had any interest at all. Just nobody wants it. If you guys can get out and get the mood turned around to where we feel that, hey, we've been down that road before, we know what that light at the end of the tunnel is. I don't want to do it twice or 3 times in my particular case.
But I think that's the challenge too. I agree with you, Ed. I believe that's accurate, because if you send out a survey that says, do you want a community pavilion? What I translate that to is like, it's going to be loud and it's going to cost me money. No, right? That's what's happening. And I think it comes back to us, like Doug said before, like you're saying now, to say why these things are important. Not advertise it, but let the community know, like, this is what it will do for us. And I don't think that's been addressed, right? I don't think, or at least in a proper way, where we bring the community into the conversations. We don't get any people coming to the Parks and Rec, and I've always felt that that's been a big problem too. Like when we say what's on our agenda and we put it out there, no one's showing up to the meetings, and that's another thing that.
Look around. I mean, you're not alone.
So,
You're not alone.
But that's another problem I feel, especially when it comes to Park and Rec, because we're doing it in our own communities, But we need to get into the room here with the community too and say, hey, we have this idea for this pavilion. This is why we think it's great. Let people shoot it down with us.
Yeah.
And then we come to you and be like, okay, you're right, right? We have a pretty good basis where it's not going to be successful and this is why, so let's move on. But right now, we don't have any of that data.
So there's a couple things there. One, a great way to get people to realize what they need and what they want is to show them. So a good opportunity might be, we do, maybe we look at the summer. We do some summer concerts. We rent a stage, put it in the exact spot that a pavilion would be, bring people there, get them in the habit of going, this is a lot of fun. And then as we're walking around, man, wouldn't it be cool if we actually had a structure pavilion here with some food trucks? You know, so you plant the seed and you see if it works. If no one shows up, then okay, what the point is a pavilion if no one's going to show? And again, that's part of the culture and the behavior that we need to shift. And I'll let you speak. I got two quick things. One area that is going to be important moving forward that we've talked about, but we don't really have any action for it, is once that Commons Park gets built, really the service road, as we call it, is going to be an opportunity. And I'll tell you some of the things that I see every day in my community is just people walking. I spend 3 to 4 days either at Paradise Coast, North Collier Regional Park, or Big Corkscrew, or here in Fort Myers. So I'm at a park probably 4 days a week. I always see people walking around. They're constantly walking while their kids are practicing. They're walking their dogs. They're, you know, they have it's funny, they have an exercise thing at North Collier. And it looks like they didn't spend a ton of money, but it has a lot of stuff. People use like 2 items on there. They step up and step down. They do pull-ups. A lot of the really sophisticated machinery that they have doesn't get used. But the location does. The plat that it's on that's a place where you go and you do some physical work. But my point is, when we look at the park, when we look at Linear Park, even if you come out here to practice sometimes, you'll see parents just walking around. They'll do a loop. So it's little things like providing walking areas, you know, those types of things. So maybe if you guys look at a little bit, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, it's the linear, you know, what can we do to Linear Park to connect Commons Park to the rest of the community on the backside, but also give you a pathway to Sherman Soccer Complex. So just again, a couple things. And I think if we look in our budget now for this upcoming year, can we just look and see what dollars we have allocated to Parks and Rec, and if there's any dollars, even if it's 20 grand, or just, I think we need to give this group a starting point.
Well, I think that what they need to see is, one, there's 2 components. It's the capital component and the operating component. I think you need to see every aspect of the operating component. Right there, it's real simple. We made a decision, it's around $450,000, and we want to cut that by 75%. That's simple. On the other hand, the capital is a huge one. We got a lot in the park right now, $2 million in the new park going in. And we're going to have operating and maintenance costs associated with that. But if we want to have other additional items, those are yet to be, that you got like on your list, that we need to identify. But I think what we need to do is to give your committee all the information and knowledge we have as to our numbers of capital. Joe, I don't think it's that bad to do the 10 years. We know that when you get out 5 to 10 years, you're going to be doing some guessing. But we've got it identified. We've got it identified, the items. The number may not be exactly perfect, but we've got it identified. And then add to that not only the repair and replacement cost, which can get big on park equipment because that stuff does not last forever. And then the other one is the new items that we want to do, throw those in, grass, lights. I like the idea of the, what do you call it, the linear park for one reason. That linear park protects us on the backside of the regular park. The fencing and the security, if we can wrap it around past the Hampton Park gate so that they can't get in that way, all the way around down to the pool or to the lake. Now the only way they can really come in without being identified is through the linear park. And if we put something, chain link fence for all I care, down the linear park. But out front, the last thing I want to see is do this beautiful building and everything and have a ugly looking chain link fence out there.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to have a
Completely
nice,
agree with that.
nice fence that looks nice and does what we want.
With landscaping and all that stuff. And I'd say, enjoy this time that you have right now where you can sit back and you can think of things to do. I guarantee you, when are we supposed to go live, breaking ground with the new?
With
yeah.
opening?
Yeah.
August.
When August, September, when the end of this year comes around, you're going to have more things to address because people are they're going to start saying, we need this, we need programs, we need
start
this.
to
What
realize-
about this? What about, your plate is going to be full towards the end of the year. And I will bet $100 on that you guys sitting around trying to think of things, those days
There's a lot of
will be
things-
gone towards the end of the year.
The one that's
There's
got-
a lot of things that right now you don't even see that are going to happen. I've been in Twelic 20 years, and our amphitheater is being used more now than ever before, and not all shows. Now groups are going out there. There was an Italian group this morning. Must have been 30 or 40 of them sitting around, and they're having a meeting in the area, not on the amphitheater, but they're taking advantage of the facility.
Right.
We got a ukulele group.
Right.
And Joe talked about. We have more and more people expanding to what's available to them. And I think we'll see that too. 6 months from now, we'll know a lot more than we know today, no doubt about it.
For sure.
Yeah, your parking expansion's got me concerned. I'm worried about that too. We get loaded up and there is not a lot of parking in that new facility
I
whatsoever.
sure hope that's a problem.
We're going to be looking at grass and here we go again. Going out there to try to make it look somewhat manicured and then we got cars parking on it.
That'll be great news if we have that problem.
That-
Yeah, those are
That's what I
great
was gonna
problems.
say.
to have.
Right, like,
We need a plan A if that happens.
Yeah.
So we've got about 12 minutes left. I just want to make sure that you guys have clear direction or what is it you're trying to get from the board? Because I don't want you to leave here more flustered and confused than when you guys came. So is there?
I'd like to make sure staff gets to Paul to distribute to the community the capital program that we've got projected at this time and the operating costs that we've got projected at this time.
Yes.
And hopefully we have those operating costs separated because that soccer to me is a whole different ballgame from the rest of the park system.
Right.
And then just
and
know
I-
what kind of numbers we're dealing with because they're big. They're big numbers.
One thing we,
And I would like,
what's the board interested in also? You know, we've come up with ideas, but we know that you've been involved with ideas, and we need to have, so we can coordinate our efforts. That's one of our frustrations was we've learned about things after the fact, not to be part of it. We'd like to be part of it rather than.
We want you to drive it. I mean, to be honest,
We'd be
like,
happy
we
to
will
drive.
mention stuff in this meeting
That would be
and
our
forget it
goal.
by the next meeting.
That
And
would be our
not on
goal.
purpose. I think again, what I say part of your responsibility is get out and talk to people. What do people want? What do people want right now? And I love what Carol said. How do we take advantage of them? How do we enhance amenities and programs that we have the capability of doing today? How do we grow events? And then the capital is something that that takes a little bit more. But is there some low-hanging fruit from a capital perspective? If I gave you $20,000, what would you spend on it today?
Right.
Where would you get the biggest bang for your buck?
Right. Well, I think, Doug, that's what we take.
We're gonna drive it.
I think that's what we take now back. Let's say you do give us 20,000, whatever it is, right? Then we take that back and we say, okay, now we have a fiduciary responsibility to allocate these funds.
Do you want to put some benches in, or do you want to
Right.
throw an event over the
Right,
summer and
exactly.
hire a band and get
Yeah.
a stage? I mean, that's,
Right.
But I don't think we know what $20,000 is gonna get.
But that's
Sure,
our job.
yeah,
But that's
yeah.
our job.
You
to
gotta
find
figure it
out.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
like, either, two ways this works. You come to us and say, we want to do this, it's going to cost $30,000. And then we say, okay, we'll decide on it.
Right.
Or you say, give us an operating budget and let us figure out how to maximize those dollars.
and that's where we're coming from.
And one of those two things,
Right. That's
need
where
to
we're
happen.
coming
And right
from.
now,
That's
we're
what we
not
want.
saying, you have a list, but some of
The
those
big
are
pie in the-
big ticket items.
yeah,
So
yeah.
scale it back, because I
Right.
think you need to start with something. I think you guys need to put a flag in the ground
Yeah.
and say, we either pulled off this event, or we created this initiative, or we stood this event up for the summer fest, or
Yeah, whatever it
summer
is.
luau, or whatever it
Right,
is. And just, I think you guys need a victory, to be quite honest.
I'm gonna walk away with here stating, you've given us initiative and the authority to start working on our own and make present.
And the last thing I'll say is be critical of what you're doing. A lot of this stuff, it's absolutely valuable. But again, if I were to break it down and say, how many people does it impact? What is the cost per use? Some of these things, it's fantastic. And it's the same things that I've probably pitched in the past. But if I'm getting down to dollars, like even the dog park, we've gone back and forth on whether that is feasible for us to continue to maintain. And I have a dog and I use the dog park. Like, I don't want to take that away, but if we can't reasonably manage it, if only 100 people out of the large, vast majority of people, if it just doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's how critical you guys have to be with your ideas that you bring to the table. Like,
I think that's one of our biggest problems. We have such that disparity that you talked about earlier, that you aren't going to get to that 50, 60% that we all agree or have a big agreement. We have this faction that likes this, we have this faction that likes that. That makes it complicated. That makes it complicated. And again, capital costs have never bothered me on this type of stuff because it's amortized. It's amortized. It looks like cheap money, and it is because it's scattered over time. The killer is the operating. If we come up with stuff and assets or plans that just nail us on operating costs, that's the killer.
But again, thank you all for coming out. You have our ear. We're completely behind you. We just all have to tighten up because this is all new for us. Like, we haven't built anything new in parks for a long time. We've been maintaining what we have. So we're in new waters.
We're going to learn a lot when that new deal opens.
Absolutely.
We're going to learn a lot.
We're probably going to fail forward a little bit too.
To give you an idea, I had a conversation with a gentleman off of that way, Ace, $500 a month. A month. And
What?
for pickleball, access pickleball courts.
To belong to it?
To belong to the club.
How many hours does that get you a day?
I think it was so many times a week. It had limitations to it.
Because in the golf deal, we have that, what do you call it?
Chelsea?
Chelsea system. Last thing we do is we get that, we're all going to get hung.
Well, I hope we're in the future, we're going to have problems. Good problems to have, which is volume and parking and overuse but again, things to think about. Work with Ms. Carey on what are some of the programs we should start thinking about standing up for pickleball for various ages or even events or all that stuff. We have amenities coming. Let's not wait till we break ground for us to start thinking, what the hell do we do with them now that they're here?
Tamara, you got something?
Just one thing, this is Tamara Zahn, and to answer somebody had talked about is I got a lot of value out of this. Maybe we can learn better things that we can bring to you guys. So back to your question about once a year, twice a year, maybe once a quarter. We don't have to decide this minute, but that's something I would like out of this meeting is when can we come and present to
At
you
least
guys?
once a quarter.
Yeah.
At least once a
Okay.
At
quarter.
least I agree, at least a quarter.
And the door's open. If there's something that you need to bring to us, look, all you have to do is tell Chelsea, we need a few
Particularly
minutes
over
on the
next
agenda.
18 months, yeah.
We do monthly reports, the
second meeting.
second meeting of the month. So, and I know that you all provide those, Paul provides those, but if you want to come in person.
And do it. Okay.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
Even if it's a 5-minute jump,
Yeah.
jump up to the podium, give a quick update. I mean, the more information we get from you, the better. Keeps us connected.
That's what I was just going to say. The detail of your minutes helped me because I can read that. That's where I picked up on, I think, the parking issue.
Right.
I know that you guys had a discussion of that.
Yeah.
That's handy because you can read that and get a flavor of what's going on.
Yeah, good.
So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it.